They laughed at humanity's threat. Now they're hunted in the Dark War. Prime Krell made his decision. Pride won over wisdom. He would not negotiate with prey animals. He would not admit defeat to a species that had laughed at him only months ago. Instead, he would gather every remaining ship in the Krellian Empire and strike at the heart of humanity itself. If he destroyed Earth, the human species would break. They would have no choice but to surrender. 800 warships assembled in Krellian space, nearly everything the Empire had left. It was a desperate gamble, leaving their own territories poorly defended, but Krell believed it was necessary. One decisive strike, one overwhelming victory, and this nightmare would end. The Armada began its long journey toward Earth, jumping through multiple systems on the route. For once, human forces didn't harass them. The stealth fleet seemed to pull back, allowing the Krellian force to advance unmolested. To Krell, this confirmed his theory. The humans were retreating to defend their homeworld, finally gathering for the decisive battle he had wanted from the beginning. On Earth, Commander Taman stood in the command center watching the Krellian fleet approach. Around him, dozens of officers coordinated the final preparations for what would be the largest battle in human history. All defensive forces report ready, Fleet Admiral Sangwoo reported. 200 warships in position around Earth, orbital platforms active, planetary shields at full power. And the trap? Taman asked, set and waiting. Every asset we have is in position. Dr. Hyeri worked at a nearby console, tracking the Krellian approach vector. They're coming in fast, confident. They think this is their moment of victory. Jiwan joined them, her diplomatic credentials left behind for military observer status. The Galactic Council is watching. Every species has sensors trained on our system. Whatever happens here will determine humanity's place in the galaxy. Taman nodded slowly. 5 months ago, the Council had laughed at human threats. Now they watched in nervous silence as the supposedly primitive species prepared to face an empire that had dominated space for centuries. The Krellian Armada arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, their sensors immediately detecting the human defensive fleet. Krell smiled when he saw the numbers. 200 human warships against his 800. Even with home territory advantage, the humans were outnumbered and outgunned. All ships advance to Earth, Krell ordered. Destroy everything in our path. Today we end this war. The Krellian fleet moved inward, passing the orbit of Neptune, then Uranus. Human defenders began to fall back, seemingly retreating before the overwhelming force. It all felt familiar to Krell, like the first battles of the invasion. Maybe the humans had just been lucky these past months. Maybe their stealth tactics only worked because he had underestimated them. Now in a proper battle with clear sides, Krellian superiority would show. They crossed Saturn's orbit, and that's when everything changed. The space around Saturn erupted with human ships, not the 200 vessels they had detected, but hundreds more that had been hiding in the planet's rings, behind its moons, nestled in the asteroid debris that surrounded it. Every apparent civilian station revealed itself as a military installation. Every mining platform turned out to be a weapons battery. Captain Minho's stealth fleet emerged from the darkness beyond Pluto, having followed the Krellians silently through their entire approach. 150 frigates appeared behind the enemy formation, cutting off any retreat. Jupiter was the same. Mars was worse. The asteroid belt became a nightmare of hidden weapons platforms and concealed ships. Every moon, every large asteroid, every piece of space debris in the inner solar system concealed something deadly. It's a trap, one of Krell's officers shouted. The entire system is a kill box. Human forces attacked from every direction. Ships that had seemed to retreat now turned and engaged with support from orbital platforms. Vessels hidden throughout the system revealed themselves and opened fire. The carefully planned Krellian formation broke apart as attacks came from angles they hadn't anticipated. Krell realized his mistake too late. The humans hadn't been defending Earth. They had been luring his entire fleet into their home territory, where humans knew every hiding spot, every tactical advantage, every possible ambush point. All ships break through to Earth. Krell ordered desperately. If we can take the planet, they'll have to surrender. But Major Sumi's ground forces had returned from the occupied colonies, along with millions of other resistance fighters. They manned Earth's orbital defenses with the same determination that had made the occupation impossible. And they weren't alone. Every human who could hold a weapon, operate a console, or coordinate logistics had volunteered for Earth's defense. The battle became a slaughter. Not because humans had better technology, but because they had turned their entire solar system into a weapon. They used gravity wells to slingshot missiles at impossible angles. They knew exactly where to place mines for maximum effect. They coordinated attacks from multiple vectors with perfect timing, overwhelming Krellian shields through sheer tactical superiority. Lieutenant Yunji coordinated strike groups from the Whisper in Darkness, her voice calm as she directed traffic through the chaos. Group 7 hit their supply ships. Group 12 support the orbital platforms. Group 20 prevent any Krellian vessels from escaping toward Jupiter. Ensign Doyen monitored enemy communications, listening as Krellian morale collapsed. They're panicking. Multiple ships requesting permission to surrender. Some are trying to run without orders. Krell's flagship took critical damage, its shields failing under sustained fire from human cruisers that attacked in coordinated waves. The War Prime retreated to the armored core of his ship as human marines breached the outer sections. Commander Taman led the boarding party personally, moving through the damaged corridors with practiced efficiency. He found Krell sitting on his command throne, defiant even in defeat. "You cannot win," Krell said. "Even if you destroy this fleet, the Krellian Empire still exists. We will rebuild and return." Taman removed his helmet, meeting the War Prime's eyes. "No, you won't. Because now every species in the galaxy knows what happens when they threaten humanity. You came here expecting a glorious battle, clear sides, honorable combat. That's not what we are. You fight without honor," Krell spat. "We fight to survive," Taman corrected. "Humans evolved on a death world where everything was trying to kill us. We didn't become the dominant species by being the strongest or fastest. We survived because we never stopped. We chased prey across continents until it collapsed from exhaustion. We adapted to every environment. We learned to coordinate in groups and plan ahead. You see that as lacking honor. We see it as being very, very good at not dying." Taman gestured around at the destroyed ship, the broken fleet, the shattered invasion force. "You laughed when we threatened to defend our colonies. You thought we were prey because we looked weak. You judged us by your own standards and found us lacking. That was your fatal mistake. We don't fight like you fight. We fight like evolution itself. Patient, relentless, and absolutely inevitable. Will you destroy our homeworld in revenge?" Krell asked quietly. "No," Taman said. "We're not conquerors. We just wanted to be left alone to build our colonies and explore the stars. You forced this war. Now you'll surrender completely. Withdraw from our territory, pay reparations, and sign treaties guaranteeing our independence. Do that and your species survives. And if we refuse," Taman's expression turned cold, "then we hunt your people through every dark corner of space until you change your mind or go extinct. That's what happens when you threaten persistence, predators. We don't give up. We don't forget. We just keep coming forever until our prey stops running." Krell looked into Taman's eyes and saw truth there. This human wasn't making threats or trying to intimidate. He was simply stating facts. If the war continued, humanity would pursue the Krellian Empire into extinction with the same patient determination that had turned this battle into a massacre. "We surrender," Krell said. The words bitter but necessary. "I will order all Krellian forces to withdraw from human territory and accept your terms." On Apex Prime Station, the Galactic Council watched the battle's conclusion in stunned silence. The mighty Krellian Empire, dominant military power for 2 centuries, had been broken by a species that had only achieved spaceflight 15 years ago. High Arbiter Velthor felt his understanding of galactic civilization shift. Power wasn't just about technology or fleet size. It was about will, adaptability, and the refusal to accept defeat. Ambassador Jiwan appeared before the council one final time. Her voice was steady, but her eyes carried the weight of 5 months of war. Humanity joined the galactic community in good faith. We sought peace, trade, and cooperation. When the Krellian Empire threatened our colonies, we warned them. This council laughed at our warning and voted unanimously to support Krellian aggression. She paused, letting the silence grow heavy. "Now you've seen what happens when you threaten a species that evolved as persistence predators on a death world. We don't fight with honor or glory. We fight with patience, adaptation, and the absolute certainty that we will outlast any enemy. We are hunters who never stop until our prey surrenders or dies." The first landing craft entered Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Inside each vessel, Draconian soldiers prepared their weapons and checked their armor. They had done this hundreds of times before on dozens of worlds. The process was routine, Land, establish perimeter, eliminate resistance, secure the area. They expected scattered human military forces, primitive firearms, perhaps some explosive devices. They were not prepared for what actually happened. As the landing craft descended through the clouds, their instruments began to malfunction. Navigation systems flickered and died. Communication arrays produced nothing but static. Soldiers grabbed handholds as their craft lurched unpredictably, no longer responding to pilot commands. Lieutenant Krath, a veteran of 6 planetary invasions, felt his weapon grow warm in his hands. The power cell was draining, fast as if something was pulling the energy out of it. Around him, other soldiers reported the same problem. Their armor systems were failing. Life support indicators dropped to critical levels. "What is happening?" someone shouted over the comm channel before it cut out entirely. Krath never got an answer. His landing craft struck the ground hard, far from its intended target. The impact knocked him unconscious. When he woke, his armor was completely dead, and the emergency hatch had blown open. He stumbled out into daylight, his weapon useless, his comm silent. He was in a forest somewhere cold. Mountains rose in the distance, and surrounding his crashed vessel were humans, dozens of them, wearing strange uniforms and pointing weapons at him that hummed with a sound that made his scales itch. Colonel Sungmin Choi stood in the command center of Black Mountain Installation, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. Every single draconian landing craft within South Korean airspace had crashed or been forced down. The resonance field was working exactly as designed. Dr. Yuna Han's theoretical calculations had proven correct. Phase 1 is successful, he reported to the global network. The harmonic field is disrupting all draconian technology within the atmosphere. Their power systems cannot maintain stability. Across the planet, similar reports flooded in. Landing craft had crashed in deserts, jungles, cities, and oceans. Draconian soldiers found themselves stranded, cut off from their fleet, their equipment failing. Human forces moved in quickly to secure the survivors. In orbit, Vexthor stared at his monitors in disbelief. He had lost contact with over 3,000 landing craft. 3,000, all within the span of 30 minutes. The last transmissions he received reported total system failure, electromagnetic interference beyond anything they had encountered before. "Pull back," he ordered. "All forces return to orbit immediately." The remaining landing craft still in atmosphere struggled to comply. Their engines sputtered and died. Their anti-gravity systems flickered. Many simply fell from the sky, crashing wherever gravity took them. Only a handful managed to escape back into space, and even those reported severe damage to their systems. Vexthor's tactical officer approached, his face showing an emotion rare among Draconians. Fear. "Commander, we are detecting massive energy buildups from underground locations across the planet. Hundreds of sites all activating simultaneously." "Show me," Vexthor commanded. The display changed to show Earth's surface with thermal overlays. Bright spots appeared across every continent, pulsing with energy. Whatever the humans had hidden underground was coming online. Vexthor had seen weapons activate before, had witnessed planetary defenses on other worlds. This was different. The energy signatures were massive, and they were everywhere. Ensign Ji-hoon Nam climbed into his fighter craft for the first time, hands shaking slightly. He had trained for this mission for 3 years, but training was different from actual combat. His fighter was not like the primitive spacecraft the Draconians had destroyed earlier. This was something new, something built using technology that officially did not exist. The hangar doors opened beneath the Pacific Ocean, and his squadron launched upward through the water. Their craft moved through the sea like it was air, protected by fields that pushed water aside. They broke the surface and climbed toward space, toward the Draconian fleet. "Remember your training," his squadron leader's voice came through the comm. "The resonance generators in your craft are tuned to disrupt their shields. Get close, fire your payload, and get out. Do not engage in prolonged combat." Ji-hoon acknowledged and focused on flying. His fighter responded to his thoughts, the neural interface reading his intentions faster than manual controls ever could. Around him, his squadron formed up. There were 20 of them, going against ships the size of mountains. The Draconians detected them immediately. Point defense systems locked on and fired. Ji-hoon watched energy beams lance past his craft, close enough to make his shield flare with heat. But the beams were slower than they should be, less accurate. The atmospheric resonance was still affecting the enemy systems even up here, in the edge of space. He dove toward a draconian cruiser, releasing his weapon at the last moment before pulling up sharply. The missile struck the cruiser's shield and detonated. But this was not a normal explosion. The warhead released a pulse that matched the planet's modified magnetic field, amplifying it, focusing it. The cruiser's shield collapsed. Then its hull began to tear apart, metal shrieking as molecular bonds weakened. Within seconds, the massive ship broke into pieces that tumbled toward Earth's atmosphere. Jihoon could not believe it. They had killed a draconian cruiser. One missile, one ship. His squadron was already engaging other targets, and he watched as 2 more cruisers died the same way. Vexthor watched his fleet die and finally understood. The humans had not been unprepared. They had been waiting. Every piece of intelligence his empire had gathered about this planet had been false. The humans had fed them lies, made themselves appear weak, vulnerable, primitive. They were none of those things. "Retreat," he ordered. "Full retreat to outer orbit. We need distance from the planet." His fleet began to pull back, engines straining to break free of Earth's gravity. But as they climbed, more ships began to fail. Power systems overloaded. Shield generators exploded. Navigation computers crashed. 147 vessels experienced catastrophic failures as they tried to escape. Some exploded. Others went dark and began falling back toward Earth, drawn down by gravity. Dead metal coffins for their crews. Dr. Yunahan monitored the resonance field from her laboratory deep beneath the Swiss Alps. The readings were perfect. Earth's magnetic field, artificially modified over 30 years of secret construction, was now a weapon. Any technology dependent on standard electromagnetic principles would fail within its influence. The closer to Earth, the stronger the effect. She activated her comm to Minji. "The field is stable. We can increase intensity if needed." "Not yet," Minji responded. "We want them trapped, not destroyed immediately. Let them think they can still escape if they try hard enough." Jinwoo studied the data coming from orbital sensors. The draconian fleet was in chaos, ships colliding with each other as their navigation failed, commanders screaming orders that could not be heard over jammed communication channels. He felt no satisfaction in watching it. This was not victory. This was simply the trap closing. He pulled up the files he had been reviewing, ancient data from archaeological sites around the world. There were patterns in the geological record, anomalies that did not make sense, mass extinctions that were too sudden, too complete, mineral deposits that formed in ways that matched weapons testing, not natural processes. Other intelligent species had come to Earth before. They had tried to conquer it, to colonize it, to claim it for themselves. None of them had succeeded. In fact, none of them had survived. Their artifacts were buried so deep that humans had only recently discovered them, and only those with the highest security clearances knew the truth. Earth had killed them all. Somehow, the planet itself had destroyed every attempt at alien conquest, and now Jinwoo was beginning to understand why. Vexthor managed to stabilize his remaining fleet at a higher orbit, far enough that his systems began to recover. He had lost over 200 ships, 200 in a matter of hours to a species that should not have posed any threat at all. He tried to activate his quantum communication array to call for reinforcements from the Empire. The system initialized, began to establish a connection, then failed. He tried again. Failed. His communications officer worked frantically at the controls. "Commander, something is blocking subspace frequencies. The interference is coming from the planet itself, from deep underground. We cannot establish quantum links." Vexthor felt cold despite the heat of his bridge. They were cut off. No reinforcements, no support, no escape through quantum tunnels while, whatever the humans had done to space-time around this planet remained active. They were trapped here with a species that had just revealed itself to be far more dangerous than any intelligence suggested. His mind raced through tactical options. He could try to destroy the planet entirely, crack it open with sustained bombardment. But his weapons were not functioning at full capacity, and he had a terrible suspicion that if he tried, the humans had defenses even for that. Director Yoonji Shin stood before the emergency assembly of world leaders, her face illuminated by the screen showing the crippled draconian fleet. She had spent 20 years of her life preparing for this moment, keeping secrets that weighed on her like stones. Now those secrets would be revealed. What you are witnessing, she began, is the activation of systems that have been in development since 1947. Since the first confirmed contact with non-human intelligence, the chamber erupted in questions. She raised her hand for silence. Everything you know about Earth's space program is partially true. Yes, we went to the moon for exploration, but we also went to install the first resonance generators beyond Earth's atmosphere. Every satellite we launched, every space station we built, every deep ocean facility and underground research center had dual purposes. Science, yes, but also preparation for this exact scenario. She gestured to the screens. We knew they would come eventually. The first visitors told us before we destroyed their scout craft. They told us that Earth had been marked, that aggressive species would eventually notice us. So we prepared. We united in secret across all nations, and we prepared. Ambassador Dahya-Moon sat in the interrogation room, facing the captured draconian soldier they had pulled from a crashed landing craft in South Korea. The alien was injured, his armor stripped away, his scales pale with shock. Through a translator device, she asked him questions. Why did your species target Earth specifically? The soldier hesitated, then spoke in his clicking language. The translator converted it to Korean, then English. Your world appeared in our expansion surveys 50 cycles ago. Analysis indicated a divided species, primitive technology, no unified defense, an easy conquest to expand the Empire's territory. But your records, Dahya pressed. Surely your species has explored this region of space before. Did you find no warnings about Earth? The soldier's eyes, large and yellow, blinked slowly. There were old records, very old, marked as corrupted data, a classification of quarantine, but the reason was listed as unknown. Our commanders dismissed it as historical error. Dai leaned forward. What did these old records say about Earth? They called it something in the old language. The translation would be, he paused, searching for words, the predator world. But this made no sense. Our scouts saw no dangerous predators on your planet. Your dominant species appeared social but divided, violent among yourselves but not unified. The records were ignored. In the laboratory beneath Geneva, Dr. Seokju Kwan pulled up geological data on massive screens. Jinwoo stood beside him, studying the information with growing unease. They had been analyzing core samples taken from sites around the world, dating back millions of years. Look at this pattern, Seokju pointed to a graph. Every 65 to 80 million years there is a mass extinction event. We attributed them to natural causes, asteroids, volcanic activity, climate change. But when you examine the mineral deposits formed during these events, he highlighted specific data points. This is not natural. These formations match energy weapon signatures. High-intensity plasma bombardment. Someone was shooting at Earth from orbit repeatedly, across millions of years. Jinwoo felt his stomach turn. Multiple invasion attempts. At least 6 that we can confirm, Seokju agreed. Probably more that left no trace. Each time an advanced civilization tried to take Earth, each time they failed. Each time they disappeared completely. No survivors. No escape craft, nothing. But how? Jinwoo asked. Earth had no intelligent defenders millions of years ago. Just animals. How did a planet defend itself? Seokju brought up another set of data, this one showing genetic analysis. That is what Dr. Jiwon Baek is investigating. She has found something in human DNA that should not be there. Sequences that do not match any evolutionary pattern. Sequences that appear artificial. In her laboratory in Seoul, Dr. Jiwon Baek stared at the genetic code displayed across her screens. She had been studying human DNA for 15 years, and what she had discovered in the past month terrified her more than the alien fleet in orbit. Every human being carries dormant genetic sequences, she recorded into her log. These sequences activate in response to specific environmental triggers. Electromagnetic frequencies, threat hormones, population stress markers. When activated, they cause rapid changes in neural structure, increased physical capability, enhanced coordination between individuals. She pulled up brain scans of soldiers who had been in combat with draconian forces. The changes were visible, dramatic. Parts of their brains that normally operated independently were now linked, communicating in ways that should not be possible without direct technological interface. Humans are not evolving these capabilities naturally, she continued. They were already coded into our genome. We are not Earth's natural inhabitants. We are Earth's response. We were created for this purpose. Vexthor accessed the ancient database on his flagship, files so old they were kept in deprecated formats. His technical staff had to restore corrupted data blocks piece by piece. What they found made him wish they had never started. The previous expedition to this planet had been 10,000 years ago, shortly after the Draconian Empire first achieved interstellar travel. The records were fragmented, but what remained was clear enough. The expedition had been a survey mission, 20 ships investigating promising worlds for colonization. They had found Earth inhabited by primitive bipedal creatures who used stone tools and lived in small tribes. The survey commander had marked Earth as suitable for colonization after the primitives were cleared away. The colonization fleet arrived 3 years later. 500 ships, 100,000 colonists. They began landing operations on multiple continents simultaneously. The primitives fled into caves and forests, apparently terrified. Then the reports turned strange. Equipment failures, communications blackouts, landing parties disappearing. The primitives were attacking, but not like frightened animals. They attacked in coordinated groups using tactics that should have required advanced communication technology. They knew where the Draconians were weak, where their supply lines ran, which installations were critical. The final transmission from the colony leader was brief. They are not primitives. They are predators. Evacuation is no longer possible. Whatever you do, do not return to this world. Then silence. 500 ships. 100,000 colonists. Gone. When the Empire sent investigators a century later, they found no trace of the colony. No ships, no structures, no bodies. The primitives were still there, still using stone tools, showing no sign they had ever encountered advanced technology. The planet had swallowed an entire Draconian colony without leaving evidence it had ever existed. Yunji continued her briefing to the world leaders, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was revealing. We discovered the truth gradually. Archaeological digs that found impossible artifacts. Genetic studies that revealed design patterns in our DNA. Historical analysis of human behavior that showed statistical impossibilities. She displayed an image on the screen, a graph showing human technological progress over time. We should not have advanced this quickly. From stone tools to spacecraft in 10,000 years is impossibly fast, compared to any evolutionary model, unless we were meant to advance this fast. Unless we were pushed. Pushed by what? Someone asked from the assembly. Yunji smiled, but there was no humor in it. By Earth itself. We do not fully understand the mechanism, whether the planet is truly conscious in any sense we can define, or whether it is simply a complex biological system responding to threats. But the evidence is clear. Earth cultivates intelligent life, accelerates its development, and deploys it as a defense mechanism when threatened. Dahye asked the Draconian soldier one more question. How many worlds has your empire conquered? 47, the soldier replied. Over 3 millennia. We are among the most successful military species in known space. And how many times has your empire faced complete defeat? Complete loss of an invasion force? The soldier was quiet for a long moment. Never. We have never lost an entire armada. Even against the Council peacekeepers, we have only been driven back with heavy casualties. We have never been destroyed. Until now, Dai said softly. Until now, the soldier agreed. Your species should not have been capable of this. You are too new to space, too divided among yourselves. But you fought as one. You knew exactly what to do. Exactly how to counter every move we made. As if you had been practicing for this battle for thousands of years. Dahlia stood to leave, then paused. We have been practicing. We just did not know it. Every war we fought among ourselves, we were learning. Every weapon we developed, we were preparing. We thought we were fighting each other. We were wrong. We were training to fight you. In the Black Mountain Command Center, Sungmin received reports from facilities across the globe. The defense grid was functioning beyond expected parameters. The Draconian fleet was completely trapped. Their quantum drives would not function within Earth's modified space-time envelope. Their weapons were operating at reduced efficiency. Their shields were failing. How long do we maintain this level? He asked Yuna over the comm channel. Admiral Taejun Ryu stood in the hangar that had been hidden beneath Antarctic ice for 40 years. Around him, ships powered up for the first time in actual combat conditions. They were not built like human spacecraft should be built. They had not been assembled from metal and circuits. They had been grown, cultivated from materials that were part organic and part technological. A combination that should not exist but did. All squadrons report ready, his tactical officer announced. Taejun nodded and activated the fleet-wide communication. This is Admiral Ryu. You have trained for this mission your entire careers. Some of you were born into this program, raised knowing this day would come. Others volunteered after learning the truth. All of you are here because Earth chose you. He paused, looking at the faces on his screens, young and old from every nation united in purpose. The Draconians think they are trapped in orbit around a primitive world. They are wrong. They are trapped in orbit around a predator that has been waiting millions of years to perfect its hunting technique. We are that technique. We are Earth's teeth and claws. Show them what happens when you threaten our world. The hangar doors opened, massive plates of ice sliding apart to reveal the darkness above. The human space fleet launched, rising from Antarctica, from ocean trenches, from mountain caverns, from facilities hidden in deserts disguised as geological formations. 200 ships, technology that officially did not exist, crewed by people who had given up normal lives to be ready for this moment. Private Minseo Park crouched in the ruins of a draconian landing craft, his rifle trained on the tree line. His squad was securing the crash site, documenting alien technology, taking prisoners. It was routine work, exactly what they had trained for. Then something changed. Minseo felt it first as a tingling in his spine. Then his vision sharpened, colors becoming more vivid. Sounds grew clearer. He could hear his squad mates breathing, could hear their heartbeats, could somehow sense their positions without looking. His rifle felt lighter in his hands, as if it had become an extension of his body. Around the world, millions of soldiers experienced the same thing. The activation, the dormant sequences in their DNA responding to the threat level, transforming them into something more than they had been. Not superhuman exactly, but enhanced, optimized, made into the perfect soldiers Earth needed. Minseo did not understand what was happening to him. He only knew that he could feel his squad as if they were part of his own body. When his sergeant thought about flanking left, Minseo knew it before the order was given. When the draconian prisoner tried to reach for a concealed weapon, Minseo's rifle was already aimed at him before his conscious mind registered the threat. They were no longer individuals fighting together. They were parts of a single organism, coordinated and efficient. Taejun's fleet emerged into space and immediately engaged the draconian vessels still trying to maintain high orbit. The human ships moved with impossible grace, weaving through defensive fire that should have destroyed them. Their weapons did not fire explosive charges or energy beams. They released clouds of microscopic machines, swarms that coated draconian hulls and began disassembling them at the molecular level. Vexthor watched in horror as one of his cruisers simply came apart. Not exploding, not burning, but dissolving, the hull separated into component materials, which were then absorbed by the attacking swarm, converted into more machines, which attacked other ships. It was not warfare. It was digestion. Return fire, he ordered desperately. Destroy those craft, his ships tried. But their targeting systems were still malfunctioning from Earth's resonance field, and the human vessels moved in patterns that seemed to predict where his weapons would fire before they fired. It was as if they could read his tactical decisions before he made them. 3 more draconian ships dissolved. Then 5 more. Then a dozen. The swarms were spreading, multiplying, consuming his fleet piece by piece. Vexthor realized with growing terror that the materials from his ships were being incorporated into Earth's defense grid. His armada was not being destroyed. It was being eaten. Dr. Ji-Won Baek monitored the neural activity of soldiers worldwide, the data streaming into her laboratory faster than she could analyze it. The activation had triggered across the entire human population, not just military personnel. Civilians felt it too, though less intensely. A subtle shift in awareness, a connection to something larger than themselves. They are forming a collective consciousness, she spoke into her recorder, not a hive mind in the traditional sense. Individuals retain their personalities and autonomy, but there is an underlying layer of communication, coordination at a level that bypasses language and technology. They are thinking together. She pulled up brain scans that showed the changes, new neural pathways forming in real time, connections that should take years to develop appearing in minutes. The human brain was rewiring itself, optimizing for group coordination and threat response. This is not evolution, Ji-Won continued. Evolution takes generations. This is activation of pre-existing code. The sequences were always there, dormant, waiting for the right trigger. Earth has been breeding its defenders for millennia, preparing for the day when a threat too large for individual action would arrive. She paused, her hand trembling as she saved the data. We were never truly independent. We are cells in a larger organism. Earth is the body and we are its immune system. Vexthor knew he had lost. The question now was whether any of his fleet would survive to carry warning back to the Empire. He began preparations to launch a warning buoy, a small automated craft that would record what had happened and transmit it via quantum beacon to Draconian space. But as he worked, he noticed something worse than the ongoing destruction of his fleet. Ships were not just being destroyed, they were disappearing. Entire vessels, crew and all, were simply ceasing to exist. One moment they were on his sensors, the next moment there was nothing. Not debris, not energy signatures, nothing. He pulled up long-range scans and felt his blood chill in his veins. The disappearances were following a pattern, working from the outer ships inward toward his flagship. Earth was systematically erasing his armada from existence, taking them apart so completely that not even atoms remained. Minji coordinated the final phase of the operation from Geneva, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. Every element was working perfectly. The Draconian fleet was trapped, cut off from reinforcements, being methodically eliminated. But she felt no triumph, only a cold certainty that this was necessary. How many ships remain? She asked her staff. 423, ma'am, down from 847 at initial engagement. Losses continuing at approximately 15 ships per hour. Increase absorption rate, Minji ordered. We need to finish this before they manage to send out a warning. The technician hesitated. Ma'am, if we increase the rate, there may be insufficient time to properly disassemble the vessels. Some material may be lost. Acceptable, Minji replied. Speed is priority. We cannot allow any information about Earth's defenses to reach their empire. The technician implemented the changes. On the tactical display, the rate of Draconian ship disappearances accelerated. They were being pulled into Earth's atmosphere in clusters now, dragged down by fields that manipulated gravity itself. As they descended, the molecular disassembly swarms grew thicker, more aggressive. Ships vanished in minutes instead of hours. Sungmin received reports from ground forces worldwide. Captured Draconian soldiers were being processed, interrogated, studied. Most were in shock, unable to comprehend what had happened to them. A few had gone catatonic, their minds broken by the realization that they had invaded a world far more dangerous than anything in their experience. What do we do with the prisoners? His aide asked. Sungmin considered the question. The logical answer was to eliminate them, ensuring no intelligence about Earth's defenses survived. But something in him resisted that solution. They had won. They had proven their superiority. Executing prisoners seemed unnecessarily cruel. Contain them, he decided. We will determine their fate after the fleet is completely destroyed. Perhaps they can be useful in understanding Draconian technology and culture. The aide nodded and relayed the orders. Sungmin returned his attention to the tactical display. 300 ships remaining, then 250, then 200. The Draconian armada was being erased from existence, consumed by a planet that had perfected the art of defending itself over millions of years. Vexthor succeeded in launching his warning buoy, a small victory in his complete defeat. The buoy accelerated away from Earth at maximum speed, too small and fast for human defenses to easily track. It would reach the edge of the solar system in 3 days and then jump to quantum space, carrying its message of warning to the Empire. He hoped it would be enough. Hoped that his people would learn from his mistake and avoid this death world. But even as the buoy vanished from his sensors, he suspected it would not matter. The Draconian Empire was proud, arrogant. They would not believe a report of such total defeat. They would send investigators. They would send another fleet, and Earth would be waiting for them. 2 weeks passed since the last Draconian ship dissolved into atoms. Earth's orbit was clear. The planet's defense grid powered down to standby levels. The resonance field weakened to normal parameters. To an outside observer, nothing appeared different. The small blue planet rotated peacefully in its orbit, showing no sign that it had just consumed an entire invasion fleet. But everything had changed. Director Yoonji Shin stood before the United Nations General Assembly, no longer hidden in shadow. her organization no longer secret. The Global Continuity Initiative, the group that had prepared for this day since 1947, now operated openly. There were no more secrets worth keeping. "We must decide what comes next," she told the assembled representatives. "For 80 years we maintained the illusion of a divided primitive species to make ourselves appear unthreatening. That illusion is shattered. The galaxy now knows what we are capable of. We cannot pretend to be harmless children anymore." The assembly chamber was quiet, delegates processing the weight of her words. A representative from Brazil raised his hand to speak. "What are our options?" Yunji displayed a star map on the screens behind her. "We have 3 choices. First, we continue to appear weak, hoping that the destruction of the Draconian Armada will be dismissed as an anomaly or covered up by their empire. Second, we reveal ourselves fully to the galaxy as a military power, risking confrontation with other species who may see us as a threat. Third, we take a middle path, making it known that Earth is protected but not advertising the full extent of our capabilities." "Which do you recommend?" the Brazilian delegate asked. "None of them," Yunji admitted, "because the choice may not be ours to make. 3 alien species have already sent diplomatic missions. They witnessed the destruction of the Draconian fleet through long-range observation. They are cautious." Dr. Jinwoo Park worked in his laboratory analyzing the genetic data that Ji-won had compiled. The truth about humanity's nature weighed on him like a physical burden. He had spent his life searching for alien intelligence, hoping to find kindred spirits among the stars, proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. Now he knew the truth. Humanity was not alone, had never been alone, but they were not kindred spirits with anyone. They were weapons, designed by their planet, activated when needed, returned to dormancy when the threat passed. He studied his own genetic code on the screen, seeing the sequences that should not exist, the code that made humans aggressive, territorial, adaptable, and capable of coordinating in large groups. Every trait that made humanity successful was a trait Earth had cultivated for defense purposes. His assistant, a young researcher named Bora Kim, entered the lab carrying coffee. "You have been here for 18 hours straight," she said. "You need rest." "I need answers," Jinwoo replied. "Look at this sequence here. It codes for rapid neural adaptation, the ability to learn new skills quickly. Every human has it. But it is not natural evolution. It was inserted into our genome deliberately, by something with technology we still do not fully understand." Bora set the coffee down and studied the screen. "Does it matter? Whether we evolved naturally or were designed, we are still ourselves. We still make our own choices. Do we?" Jinwoo asked quietly. During the attack, soldiers worldwide reported feeling connected, thinking together, moving in perfect coordination without communication. That was not their choice. That was activation of programmed responses. If Earth can make us do that, what else can it make us do? Bora had no answer to that. Captain Minji Kang met with the first diplomatic mission from an alien species, a group of beings who called themselves the Kalari. They were insectoid with multiple limbs and compound eyes, and they approached the meeting with visible nervousness. Through translators, the Kalari ambassador spoke. "We observed the destruction of the Draconian fleet. We must know, was this defensive action or expansion?" "Defensive," Minji assured them. "We did not invite their attack. We only responded to it." The Kalari ambassador's antennae twitched, a gesture their translator indicated meant skepticism. "The Draconian Empire is one of the most powerful military forces in this galactic region. They have conquered 47 worlds. You destroyed their armada completely. This was not merely defense. This was annihilation." Minji chose her words carefully. "We did what was necessary to protect our world. We did not pursue their fleet. We did not counterattack their empire. We defended our home, nothing more. But you could attack," the Kalari pressed. "You have the capability. We observed your technology, your ships, your weapons. If you chose to expand, which worlds could stop you?" Minji felt the weight of that question. The Kalari was right. Earth had revealed itself as a military power, capable of destroying established empires. Every other species in the galaxy would be calculating whether Earth was a threat to them. "We have no interest in conquest," Minji said. "Earth does not want territory. We only want to be left alone." "That is what every predator species claims," the Kalari replied, "until they grow hungry." Hyunwoo Lee worked with the diplomatic corps. crafting Earth's official response to the galaxy. It was delicate work, balancing between appearing strong enough to deter attack and non-threatening enough to avoid a coalition of species banding together against humanity. "We should show them our culture," suggested one diplomat. "Art, music, literature. Prove we are civilized, not just weapons." "They will not care," Hyunwoo replied. "The Draconians had art and culture too. Every species does. What matters is capability and intent. We have proven our capability. Now we must carefully manage perception of our intent." He drafted and redrafted the statement, each version finding new ways to say the same thing. Earth was peaceful, but would defend itself absolutely. The challenge was making that sound reassuring rather than threatening. Private Minseo Park stood in the mirror, studying his reflection. He looked the same as before the activation. Same face, same body, same eyes. But he felt different. The enhancement had faded when the threat ended, but not completely. He could still sense his squad mates when they were nearby, could still coordinate with them more efficiently than should be possible. He flexed his hand, watching the muscles move. Was this hand his own, or was it Earth's tool? When he clenched his fist, was it his decision? Or was the planet subtly influencing his neurons, making him believe the choice was his? His sergeant Hyejin Cho entered the barracks and noticed him staring at his reflection. "Still thinking about it?" "How can I not?" Minseo asked. "We are not who we thought we were." "We are exactly who we thought we were," Hyejin replied, just with additional context. "You are still Minseo, still the person who joined the military to serve his country, still the soldier who ran into fire to save his squad mate. That was you, not the planet. But how do I know?" Minseo asked desperately. "How do I know any of my choices are mine?" Hyejin sat on the bunk next to him. "Because you are asking that question. Because you are worried about it. Earth does not need its weapons to question their purpose. If we were simple programmed responses, we would not be having this conversation. The fact that we struggle with this means we are more than just tools." Minseo wanted to believe her. He was not sure he could. Admiral Taejun Ryu supervised the return of the human space fleet to its hidden bases. The ships descended into mountain caverns, ocean trenches, Antarctic facilities. They would remain on standby, ready to launch if needed, but hidden from casual observation. Earth was not ready to reveal the full extent of its space capabilities. As his flagship settled into its hangar beneath the Pacific, Taejun reflected on what they had accomplished. They had defended Earth successfully. They had proven that humanity could unite against common threats. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not defenseless, but they had also revealed themselves as something terrifying, a species that could coordinate millions of soldiers without communication, technology that could dissolve ships at the molecular level, a planet that was itself a weapon, cultivating intelligence as a defense mechanism. Other species would study what had happened here. They would analyze Earth's capabilities. Some would seek alliance. Others would see Earth as a threat that needed to be eliminated before it grew too powerful. And some would simply avoid Earth entirely, marking this solar system as a place too dangerous to visit. Taejun wondered which response would be most common. He suspected it would be fear. Dr. Yuna Han published her findings to the scientific community, explaining the resonance technology and how Earth's magnetic field had been modified. The information was necessary for humanity to understand what had been built in secret, but it was also dangerous. Now anyone who read her papers would know how Earth's defenses worked. "Are you concerned about revealing this?" asked Dr. Seokju Kwon during a video conference. "Yes and no," Yuna replied. "Any species advanced enough to threaten Earth will already have sensors that could detect the modifications to our magnetic field. We are not revealing anything they could not discover themselves. What we are doing is making sure our own people understand what was done to our planet." "And do you think they will accept it?" Seokju asked. "Knowing that their world has been turned into a weapon?"